Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, brothers and sisters, and all those tuned into ZIZ, of course, throughout the world. Today, another fine day. I'm not even so sure if there are days which are not fine days, irrespective of the quality, content of the weather. And we know that everywhere people are suffering, people are experiencing injustice, people are in pain, people are hungry, people are victims of violence. But generally, we still have to give thanks. As the saying goes, in spite of all its sham and drudgery, and I would add, in spite of all the injustice and immorality, it is still a beautiful world. So we give God thanks. Today, Thursday, 3rd December 2020. Now, yesterday, in naming out some individuals whose birth dates fall in this month of December, I did not mention that of our own Prime Minister, whose birthday also is in December. So we say happy birthday to Dr. Harris when the time comes for him to celebrate. All right. Today, of course, 3rd of December is International Day for the Handicapped, or for people with disabilities. We've had members of the Society for Disabled People, members of the Society Often for the Blind. We've had them here as our guest on Frank and Candid. But today is their day, and we want to hope that more focus is paid to them. And when we speak of people who are disabled or suffering from a disability or who are handicapped, who are impaired in any way, we have to think of all kinds of individuals, because as we mentioned last time, people like myself who depend on glasses, spectacles to read, it's very difficult for me to read anything except it's an exceptionally large print without glasses. So we too are impaired. We too are handicapped in some way. All those of us who depend on glasses to move about, to help us with our vision. Elderly people who, by virtue of their old age, can't do a lot of things. Some can hardly lift a leg. Some can hardly use their hands. Some have lost their control of their mental faculties, their mental processes. To me, that's a disability of some sort. So all of us go through some disability at some point in our lives. When we are babies, we are so utterly and completely helpless that that can be considered a disability of some sort. So today is a day for all of us. All right, every tooth, moon and bagay, every manjak. Today is a day that speaks to all of us, and those of us who are so-called able-bodied and who, can still move about and do things which are necessary for the world to run smoothly. We have to really be grateful. Of course, it wouldn't be a very progressive world if everybody suffered from a major physical disability, if everybody were blind. What the thing? If everybody were deaf, if everyone were lame, if everyone were dumb, some say it would be a kinder, gentler world, because we find that persons who suffer from disabilities, by and large, of course, they lack the capacity to express aggression and violence in the way so-called able-bodied persons do. So this is a day for reflection on how grateful we are that we are not suffering from any major physical impairment, and also to commiserate with and be compassionate towards those who are, or those who do. All right, today, 3rd December. I wanted to share with you some of the major activities that took place in the month of December. I think it's instructive, and younger persons can learn what are some of the historical events that occurred in the month of December. And then I wanted us to look at our own St. Kitts Nevis and focus today and perhaps continue tomorrow. What are some of the major, perhaps you can name 3 or 4 major issues, problems, challenges facing St. Kitts today, at whatever level, right? Be it at the social level, spiritual level, economic, political. What are the major? Let's identify. Of course, every society has its challenges and issues. There's no utopia on earth. But for St. Kitts and Nevis, what are 2 or 3 of the major issues? If one were to ask if one were to be asked, or if one were to ask, what are the most serious challenges facing this lovely federation today? Today, Thursday, 3rd December 2020, what would they be? Would it be unemployment? Would it be a question of prostitution? Would it be child abuse or domestic abuse generally? Would it be economic dislocation? Would it be poor roads, too many accidents? Would it be too much homicide? Would it be too much distrust? Too much lack of compassion? Too much indecency, public indecency? Is it a problem of overpopulation? Too many migrants coming in and not contributing positively or constructively to our socioeconomic development? What are the major issues? Too many irreligious persons, a growing number of young people who are skeptics, agnostics, and even atheists. Young people with no demonstrable vision for the future. What are the major issues? What do you think? All right, lines are open. You can call us when you wish. But in the year 800 Anno Domini, of course, 800 AD, the great Charlemagne was crowned Holy Roman Emperor. All right, and I remember as a child learning about Charlemagne and of his great feats and exploits. And then, of course, you remember in 1492, the indomitable Christopher Columbus landed in Hispaniola, all right, on his first voyage from Europe to the West Indies, on his search for the East Indies. Columbus landed in Hispaniola, which we now know, of course, as the Dominican Republic, popularly referred to by its capital, Santo Domingo, and Haiti. All right, that occurred in 1492, in December. All right, remember he cited St. Kitts in November of the following year, 1493. On his second voyage, he cited St. Kitts and Nevis and quite a number of others. And as he sailed along, he simply dropped the names. Whatever the shape of the islands from his distance out on his boat, as he approached the islands, whatever shape or figure they reminded him of, he simply dropped names on them. And they have stuck, by the way, by and large, they have stuck. And speaking about names and names sticking, it was in 1979 that Southern Rhodesia was renamed Zimbabwe, just before independence in 1980, which is independence in 1980. Remember in 1965, Ian Douglas Smith had issued his Universal Declaration of Independence, UDI, which was not recognized anywhere. But Robert Mugabe, of course, became the first Prime Minister, Robert Gabriel Mugabe in 1980, of a new Zimbabwe. All right? That happened in 1979, in December, by the way, in December. In 1609, ladies and gentlemen, Galileo, famous Italian, came up with the telescope, without which we wonder how we'd be able to manage a lot of things that we now take for granted. The telescope in 1609. In 1768, the Encyclopedia Britannica was published. Boy, how I loved that volume, those books, as a high schooler and sixth former. You know, how I loved the Encyclopedia Britannica. It was a world of information. You swam in knowledge and facts, and they were lovely. I'm so sorry that they have begun to take a backseat. Let's take this caller. Hello, caller. Good morning.
Good morning, Brother Blake.
Yes, sir.
Yes. I am here in feeding up my animal. I'm trying to get some young calf right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because plenty people, when they hear me on the radio, they think sometimes I'll be home. But sometimes I be my animal them, sometimes feeding them out.
Yeah, but Mr. Politics, you don't have to please, you don't have to satisfy those individuals. You know what you're doing. Even if you're home, so what? You have a right to be home. Many people call from home.
No. They say, oh,
but it doesn't matter what they say.
No. They say I don't get paid to call in on radio.
But it doesn't matter what they say. Does it matter what they say?
No. I here looking for me animals since morning about 6 o'clock. I be here now with them. You understand? Trying to get some young calf and everything, put chain on them because I don't have them in a pen. You understand? And Brother Blake, one of our greatest problem here in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis is we the people to come together. We don't support one another, especially in business, in entrepreneurship and all those things. You will find a critician, we left, he own people them, go buy the Chinese, go buy some other Indian store, go buy some other store, and he want people them there. That's why our people are struggle. We ain't together. And if we don't come together as one, that these natives will come in the country, they're going to take over. Because we need to pull together. Because I hope, I don't, okay, let me tell you. I never live abroad for no time. I just go take a little vacation. And I never live abroad to see criticians out there doing business. And other people out there from Singit coming and supporting the business. You understand? I never see that. But what I see in my country, I see that people coming in doing business in from here. And as soon as they come in and they open a business, they left you, who from here, and go and support those who ain't from here. I ain't have no problem with people supporting because I don't support the Jamaicans, I don't support the Guyanese, I don't support the Spanish, because they support me, they buy from me too. They buy things from me. I don't do all kind of thing and they buy things from me. You got a Jamaican lady, they need to a butcher. She buy the head and the foot to make she bullfoot soup and all these things and sell it. You understand? But we need to first support our own. You understand? And we ain't together. We like to bring one another too. And that is our greatest concern in the country. That we like to bring one another. All right then.
Okay, so that's an issue. One of the in the view of the caller, his position is that one of our major problems is the lack of togetherness. We do not support each other. But I want to repeat what I was trying to tell him earlier. I don't see why people have to bother with everything everybody else says. People say you're this, people say you're that, people say you're not this, people say you're not that. Why bother? I mean, it's a waste of time. If people think that he's at home or I am at home or whatever, that's their prerogative. Why try to change them? People will talk. They'll talk if you're dead, they'll talk if you're alive. Okay? They'll talk if you do well, they'll talk if you do badly. I think I'm going to read that poem tomorrow. I'm going to find it and read it. The question of the people will talk. So sometimes you don't have to bother with them. All right. So that's an issue that's identified there. But continuing with some of the major issues in December, we have another caller at the moment? No? Okay. I was speaking about the Encyclopedia Britannica. And I really loved delving into them. I remember going on to Bassett High School on Sunday afternoons and sitting down on the corridor outside where the staff room is now and just reading through and writing down important facts and relishing the information, all that was entailed in the various encyclopedias. Okay. In 1865, we had the United States Congress passing the 13th Amendment, or the 13th Amendment was ratified. Why is that important? Because in 1865, it banned slavery. It banned slavery. And there's a lot of talk about whether slavery still exists. Remember, yesterday was the International Day for the Abolition of Slavery. And we learned that 40 million people are still, the United Nations has declared that up to 40 million persons still experience slavery today, in 2020. When we like to say never again, and never again. Of course, slavery comes in different forms. Alright, slavery essentially being in a position where one is owned by someone else's property. Slavery being a situation where one has no rights or freedom. Slavery being a situation in which there is complete domination of an individual by certain influences, by certain other persons, or even by certain habits. That's why we speak of persons who are slave to gambling, slave to lying, and yesterday we spoke about the dangers of lying, and so on. Okay? So if we accept those definitions of slavery, we have to further agree that a lot of persons are still experiencing slavery, including right here in St. Kitts. Alright, so in 1865, the 13th Amendment was passed, was ratified, which banned slavery. Formal slavery as we knew it, as what C.L.R. James described, Cyril Lionel Robert James, C.L.R. James, famous historian, described as a dirty institution. A dirty institution. Slavery was officially banned. In 1879, ladies and gentlemen, Thomas Edison demonstrated the incandescent light bulb. And we have been using both fluorescent and incandescent light bulbs for years, whether they're energy saving or not. Those are what provide us with light in our homes, in our offices, businesses, wherever we go. So in 1879, that was patented by Edison, Thomas Alva Edison. In 1845, President James Polk of the United States promulgated his policy of manifest destiny. All right. Excuse me. Essentially, that was insisting that the United States has a right to expand its territory outwards. Okay? It was the destiny of the United States to grow, according to President Polk. But before him, in 1823, we had the Monroe Doctrine, which was propagated by President James Monroe. And we move on to 1911, when New Delhi replaced Calcutta as the capital of India. That's important. India, of course, being a rising power, and India being the second largest country in the world in terms of population, over 1 billion people, said it is projected to surpass China with the highest population long before the middle of this current century. So Delhi replaced Calcutta as the capital, the way Bastia replaced Old Road as the capital of St. Kitts in 1727. In 1941, on the 7th of December, exactly, to be exact, Japan attacked the United States via a bombing raid on Pearl Harbor in the Pacific. That presaged the United States' entry into World War II and almost sealed the fate of the Axis powers, because once the United States, the most powerful country then, entered the war, it was only a matter of time before they were defeated. Although the war went on for six years. Well, 4 years after the United States was attacked. In 1988, Yasser Arafat, and a lot of us remember that name, it was a popular name in the news for years, the head of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, the PLO, he formally recognized Israel's right to exist. Of course, for many years, the Arabs refused to recognize Israel's right to exist. They saw Israel as a pariah, as a pest, as an item, a people to be destroyed, to be eliminated. And to this day, we hear now and again the leaders of Iran threatening to obliterate Israel. It's a good thing. I am one of those who believe that it's a good thing that they really cannot execute that threat without experiencing near obliteration themselves in return. Because I am one of those who support Israel's right to exist and to enjoy the privileges that any other nation enjoys. Of course, we also have to consider the rights of the Palestinian people. But that was in 1988. In 1963, in December, Kenya became independent of Great Britain. Kenya being one of the major countries in Africa, both in terms of economic prowess, in terms of political and military might. Kenya, with which St. Kitts established diplomatic relations just last year. Okay? And St. Kitts' ambassador to Cuba is also the ambassador to Kenya. But the ambassador is based in the Cuban capital, Havana. In 1993, the North American Free Trade Association came into being. And in 1991, sorry, I'm not going in strictly chronological order, but in 1991, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, the USSR, then the largest country in the world and one of the most powerful, was officially dissolved. And that, of course, led to the breakup of the Soviet Union. And now, instead of one country called USSR, we have about 15 different fully sovereign independent countries, right? Including Lithuania, Latvia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Georgia, and so on. and Russia itself. Russia, of course, still the largest country in the world by a good distance over Canada, the second largest country. Okay, so those are some of the events that took place in December, the month of December over the years. Of course, here in St. Kitts, December is associated with Christmas and Carnival. And we've had a number of, we've had uninterrupted Carnival except for 1993. We've had Carnival in December ever since it was started in 1971. So, next year, of course, being the 50th anniversary, it means that there is reason to celebrate in the eyes and minds of some people. I must admit, not in mine, because I am one of those who are yet to be convinced that Carnival provides any real or meaningful benefits to the society at large. Carnival, of course, is separate and apart from the folklore troops, the folklore domain, which definitely I support and would like to see continue until Jesus the Christ returns. All right. So, what are the issues we face in St. Kitts? Talk to me. Hello, caller.
Yeah, Brother Blake. We know that what the world went through with Hitler and Iran and all those other countries fighting war from since I know I was a little boy going to school. Here, Iraq and Iran fighting, in the Middle East. And you understand? You hear America and somebody fighting. You hear Britain and somebody fighting. You hear China and somebody, Korea and all them, they fighting. And, but Blake, why you think carry on these things still? That man still got intention to make bomb, weapon, and do all these things just to destroy man. Do man don't see that all those in the past will happen, and what that's done to the world and done to their own people them, that they get a sense of life and just stop thinking about doing these things, and man come together as one and try to live as one? Don't you think that it can happen? Or something in the system? Just the man got to fight against one another, war on one another, bomb on one another, kill one another for land, kill one another for oil, kill one another for gold. Even in our little country here, man fighting on one another for a little piece of land, for maybe a little piece of ground, a little piece of bone and all these things. Maybe my bone might be there and I get a little extra piece of your bone. And sometimes I got to go take down my whole fence, destroy my whole house, because me house come over a little on your bone and all these things. You understand? Before we trash it out. You understand? So what caused man to think and that vindictiveness in them all the time? That man can't just come together as one. Just like we reading out all these things that went on long time back in the past. You understand? I want to know, Brother Black, to be truthful, I really want to know why man can't come together as one, because it's getting worse. Although when man sit, what happened before? Man is trying to destroy man. Woman is trying to destroy the husband. Husband trying to destroy wife. Right?
Yes.
And this thing going on and 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 on, and you're just getting out of hand all the time. So, Brother Black, give me some, as a professor, give me some idea.
Okay.
All right.
Very well. We have another caller. Hello, caller. Before I proffer an answer to my friend Mr. Politics. Hello, caller.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you for that historical perspective to events in this month of December.
You're welcome.
But just a point of clarification.
Yes.
I'm not sure that the United States would have been considered the most powerful country militarily in 1942. I think it would have been more Germany. In fact, Germany was at the time swallowing up all the European countries.
Right.
And it is even said that the UK, with their very good intelligence service, had some understanding that the Japan was going to bomb Pearl Harbor, but didn't do anything. Did not alert Americans, because they wanted America to come in.
Right, you are.
Yes. And so, the bombing went ahead and that pulled the U.S. in. But what is also said is that it was when Germany entered, because it swallowed up thing, gone to Poland and all the other European countries there, and it was when it overextended itself going into Russia. And Russia really had to fight hard and lost tens of millions of people. But Russia ended up defeating them. And Russia helped it was part of the Allies at the time, although we think of Russia as an enemy, or the West would think of them as the enemy. They helped the West, the Allies, to really defeat Germany. But and towards the end of the war, that the U.S. was able to get some of the nuclear scientists from Germany to help them build the bomb, which they then used on Japan. So the U.S. benefited from the Europeans, and in particular from German science and scientists. Mm-hmm. So then it shifted, but Germany was really taking over the world at the time, also with some its Axis friend Italy. And
okay.
So that's my understanding.
Definitely.
But I agree with what was said earlier that we need to support our own. I think that's a very important element, supporting our own, not digging at our own selves, not that we don't welcome others and so on, but it is good to give support to our own people as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I think most historians agree, before I take this other caller, that if the United States had not entered the war, in spite of the losses that Germany had experienced, or was experiencing from Russia, aided by weather, of course, that they would have won the war. They would have prevailed. And all of Europe would have been speaking German now. I think most historians agree on that. But the entry of the United States, at the time it did, because remember the war was prosecuted all over the world. This is why it was a world war. I mean, in Africa, in Asia, in Europe, in the Americas, all over. The entry of the United States really determined the direction, changed the direction of the war, and sealed Germany's fate to a large extent. But let's take this caller. Hello? Okay. Yeah, so that is my understanding of it. Yes. Hello, caller?
Hello, good day.
Good morning.
Yeah, you can hear me. Okay. You asked for a few major issues
Definitely.
Facing us. I'd like to suggest some.
Definitely.
I tend to look at the big picture for a lot of the individual issues that you mentioned, that you suggested. I think a result of the failure to deal with the larger issues that confront us. So I'll just give you a few on my list.
Right.
One for me is the first for me is the paucity of leadership. And I'm thinking of leadership in a number of areas, from the political right down through civil society. Okay? In the political arena.
Did you say the paucity of leadership?
If what?
Did you say the paucity of leadership?
Yes.
I guess you
think
mean
we have
paucity
poor
of
leadership.
Okay, that's right. Paucity of quality leadership. Okay.
Going throughout, going throughout.
Right.
Extending from the top, going right down.
Okay.
Okay. In the political arena, for instance, there is no the dominance of a real visionary, competent, or incorruptible or committed leader like those we had in the past. Okay. There is no Mandela or no Gandhi out there that everybody can galvanize behind. Okay. Everything is so transactional now. Secondly, there is a decline in standards and values overall, okay, moral and otherwise. We constantly lament the fact that our people have changed, and I think no one can dispute that fact. Okay, we've become more individualistic, more selfish, less concerned with right and wrong. Okay, right and wrong now depends on when it's done and who does it.
Right, situational.
Okay, yeah. And the third is a lack of unity. Okay, and unity. And well, of course, part of the problem is a result that leadership doesn't seem to regard this as too important in the scheme of things, and the systems we have adopted, some inherited, yes, but There's no reason after 35 years of independence we should have kept them. The system that we have promote tribalism and selfishness and the same individuality and transactional quid pro quo that we see so much of. Okay, so those things do not foster unity among our populace. Okay, and finally there's the governance issue. It's interesting that we all agree that there is a trust deficit in government, in politicians, in our judiciary and other systems. Okay? These systems make for a vibrant democracy, a thriving society, a fair society, but somehow we resist implementing these systems. Okay? Or we look at implementing them in an incremental way. Right? Either you have these systems, either you have good governance or you don't. It's like either you have integrity or you don't. There's no halfway house. There's no sometimes about it. Okay? And until we can resolve these big picture items, I think the individual problems that we have will continue to be developed. The myriad of smaller ones will continue to be developed. Our problems have never been economic. Right? We have always had pretty good economic figures. And I think we've advanced beyond just bread and butter now, bread and butter issues. Okay? We have to look more at the esoteric problems. I know that's harder to look at. Okay? It's easy to say, well, look at all these projects and look at how people are living now better than before. Okay? But these in itself do not make for a really great country, right? We have to look beyond those basic things and look at a higher level of interaction between our people and have higher expectations, right? We just have to aim higher. And to be honest, I'm not seeing that aiming higher right now. You know, I think we're still, as much as we compare ourselves with so many other countries, and yes, we are doing better than some others, but we are nowhere near a Singapore or another country like that. Everybody moves together, and they have decided that this is the way to go. Nowhere at all near that.
Okay.
That's my point.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I might say in response a couple of things. One, I am more prone to accept a comparison between St. Kitts and Nevis and Singapore than St. Kitts and Nevis and the United States. Everybody likes to talk about in the United States. In the United States. I mean, there's such a vast difference between St. Kitts and the United States in every respect. But with respect to size, with respect to physical size, Singapore, of course, being smaller than a number of islands in the Caribbean, I would accept that one. I am prone to accept a comparison there much more so than talking about what happens here as opposed to what happens in the United States or in Canada or in England. That's my view. But so far we've identified 3. No togetherness, no unity, no support of each other. 2, paucity of leadership at all levels. And 3, social and moral degeneracy. Let's take this caller. See if you can add a 4th. Hello.
Yeah, good morning, Brother Blake.
Morning, sir.
How are you doing?
As per usual.
All right, good to be on your show again this morning here.
Yes, sir.
Now, I disagree with many things that caller before me said.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is his right and this is my right.
Yes.
Leadership starts with the individual.
Mm-hmm.
If you set a good example, you lead in the others behind you to follow a good example. You set a bad example, likewise. Now, let me go here now. You like to go politically. Our country, Federation, was suffering economically. That's the reason why we end up in the IMF hand with $3 billion. And we had money from passport. Where the money went. And when we was leadership start, when the former leader refused to go in the house for 26 months.
Yeah, but
to face emotional confidence. That is bad leadership.
Allow me to interrupt you here. We're looking at today in 2020. What do you consider to be some of the major issues confronting St. Kitts now?
I am coming to that, Mr. Blake.
Okay, please.
But I have to go back to history. So because the caller before me, he come accusing this administration of a lot of things that happened before this administration get into power. And he was around here. And he swallowed them up. He condoned them. That is his way to talk. But anyway, now, let me come here now.
Yes.
Something that is bothering me and a lot of people in this country, the Federation. Too many women are being molested sexually. And such as what they got on the books called penalty. That is not penalty. Nobody being penalized for raping a woman. The latest thing on the news is this young man here grabbed this young child, this young girl behind her neck, forced her in an abandoned house, sexually molest the girl and rape the girl, and now he on the run. And I am calling on the authorities of the law to go in parliament and put some harsh punishment on man who rape woman, whether old woman, middle woman or young woman. There's supposed to be some kind of penalty that will send a message to others. The woman got the child going, where she going?
There is a penalty, you know.
To grab the child and rape her?
There is the penalty. The penalty is life in prison.
Life in prison?
That's the penalty. So there is already a harsh penalty on the books.
Okay, well, I will tell me this way. Pleasure in prison. Better pleasure than what you got out here. Only thing that they can't rape no woman in there. It's disgusting. And I'm saying this, me, Vincent Roberto Benjamin, a.k.a. Culture, any one of them that rape my child or any female relative to me, I only want to know who they be. Case closed right there.
Okay.
Enough is enough, man. Okay, Brother Blake, that's all I have for today.
All right.
Thank you very much.
So the fourth issue identified is that of sexual molestation, which I would put under the rubric of social and moral degeneracy. Or slide into a cesspool of iniquity and an abyss of sin, as it were. And sexual molestation would be one of them. Some persons seem to believe that this is happening rampantly. And some individuals are committing these acts with abandon, without compunction. The call is being made by the individual who just rang in that there should be harsher punishments. One would ask the question, what is harsher than life in prison? But that's something that can very well be discussed. Now, Mr. Politics asked the question, why is there so much fighting? Okay, let's take this out of caller at this point. Hello.
Good morning again, Brother Blake.
Yes.
Yeah, Brother Blake, this good governance agenda, right? I remember when the unity government campaign before 2015, and they said they will do with the integrity and all kind of things, right? I'm agree that they're going in and they amend some of these laws. You understand? But this good government agenda, 2015 unity has win the government, and they win the government by, they win it reasonably enough. They win it reasonably enough, I might say. And the campaign, they do a virtual campaign again 2020, and the people them went out and voted convincingly for a unity government. So it wasn't no good government agenda, as that caller say. Don't you think that the people will go out and vote for this unity government? And don't you think the people, the masses of these people, would not call in and say that they see no good governance agenda? That means the people are pleased with what the government is doing. You understand? Only a minority of people calling in and talking about this good governance agenda business. You understand? The government is showing their endeavor best to do what they can do to help the ordinary man. No government in history, in this federation, has ever do what this unity government has done to the ordinary man and woman in this country. Look at the corona under the COVID-19. With so much people get affected out of work, out of job. And look what the government is doing. People still shopping. You go around town right now, you see people in the uptown shopping, ordinary people in the bank line. You understand? And when the Prime Minister talk about surplus, the Prime Minister talk about surplus because he helped manage the money when he was there as the Prime Minister from 2015 to 2020, and he managed it. So we get COVID, and he could afford to take some of the money and give the people something back whether from social security or whatsoever.
Okay.
That is good management.
Okay.
And good government agenda.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, thank you. Right, so the question was, why is there so much fighting, so many ills in this world, although we can clearly see the results over the years? If I may proffer a response here, and by the way, Martin Luther King once lamented, Martin Luther King Jr., that with all our intellect and advancement, we have been able to make of the world a neighborhood, but we are yet to make of it a brotherhood. And I agree with that. But we have another caller. Let's take him or her.
Yes, it's a her, and I'm calling back.
Sure.
Mr. Blake. There's something called good, and there's something called better. And the minute we start to rest on our laurels, so to speak, we have a problem. I do think that the government has been doing some very good things, and some of these things have been identified and spoken about. But there are areas where it needs to do better. And I think it's always good to hold a government and administration, hold their feet to the fire. Otherwise, they will tell themselves that everything is okay when it's not okay. One of the things is and this has been spoken to, optics, to me, is very important when it comes to the public. And when it comes to like distribution of work and what have you, we have to be very careful that we do not show a sort of favoritism in terms of whether nepotism or in terms of close associates there. Government has to spread it around. That's number one. Because it's a democratic government. It's, yes, as Joe Biden would have said in there, even if one party put you in and you really don't even know who all voted for you, that when you get in, you have to be in a democratic country. You have to be governing for the whole country, for everybody. Yes. But I am going to say something that I would keep repeating. It is a problem to me, and it reflects something very weak in the government, where you have a site such as the Bastia High School site, which is a dirty, overgrown, hazardous health-wise and security-wise to the neighborhood and others around. And even when members of the community come together and want to clean it up, there is a stubbornness in allowing it to happen. There is a problem, and it reflects a sort of a mental mindset. It is bad because it shows up in other areas. And I think this is something that the government, its people, they need to work on. What is this mindset that is so stubborn that they cannot, in a democratic society as ours, and people are calling for this, they can't do anything about it. It might be a small area, but it is reflective of a wider area. And this is a problem to me. But otherwise, not to me personally only, but in terms of what I see as a weakness going forward for the country. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I accept those views. Right. I really like the idea of a variety of views. And we've heard a long time ago that variety is the spice of life. Variety is the spice of life. Ladies and gentlemen, people are going to be different. People are going to vary in their opinion. We can't be upset and angry at others for expressing their opinion. I've been saying it for years. I've been saying it all the time. Long before I returned to ZIZ here in this capacity, because remember, I used to run the Prime Talk program before I went off to Cuba on a Thursday night. I've been saying it all the time. We must allow people to say what they have to say. All right? And then we can counter what they have said. But some of us seem to be very, very upset to the point where we sound like we hate the individual. We want to be violent against the individual or individuals who express opinions contrary to what we think. And so it ties into what Mr. Politics is saying then, that we are not togetherness. Why can't we disagree without being disagreeable? Why can't we express a contrary view without resorting to aggression and hostility? It's part of the whole idea of lacking unity and supporting each other. So sometimes we don't support each other not because of color or class, but because of politics. So we have to stop that. We have a color. We have to stop that. I mean, Maybe that's where we should begin. Let's take this caller. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Good day. It's not a matter of people criticizing, but the majority of people who call in want to know where this man was before 2015.
Mm.
I mean, everything is a problem to him now.
Uh-huh.
And where was he before? That is what I don't understand. You were talking about the war, the World War II, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, when I was going to school, there was a book called, it was Standard 4, the Atlantic Charter. You ever hear about that one?
Of course, definitely.
Yeah, with Churchill, Roosevelt, and Stalin.
Yes.
But it grieves me nowadays, when they celebrate in November, they keep Russia out. I mean, you know how many, it's millions and millions of people Russia lost, you know. Millions.
20 million, they say.
Huh?
We are told 20 million. At least 20 million.
21, yeah. But I don't understand. I mean, everybody have their own way to run their country. If you're a communist, you're a communist. And if you want to stand up to people who want to bully you, you stand up to them. And that is the problem. They're not backing down from nobody, and they do what they have to do. And for some reason, when that time come around, they have to celebrate it on their own. When France, England, and all them, they do it differently. I don't understand why they have to blacklist this nation when all they do is standing for your own people. Everybody, the Americans say it's in our own interest. But what about Russia's interest or any other country's interest? They do things for their interest, for the good of their own people. So I don't know why they have to be on and on and on. And you know what, Aaron? I blame the movies that they're making now. Every movie that they're watching, sometimes I have to change channel so much because it is the Russian mafia, the Martian this, the Russian this, the Russian that. It's all the Russian gangsters. And then for that reason, the American public demonize Russia along with it. Anyway, that's all I have to say for now.
Okay, thank you. We have another caller. Let's take that individual. Hello.
Yes, Mr. Blake.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's reasonable for you to ask. When callers ask about there was somebody else simply because they speak now, it's reasonable to say, what does that have to do? What does personalizing an issue have to do with solving the issue? Right? How does that move the ball forward? Right? Was it Mandela or MLK who said there's never a wrong time to do the right thing? You want to tell me that one should not be speaking out about problems because they never used to do it in the past? Mr. Blake? You are a civil servant. You know the strictures on civil servants. I mean, you don't criticize your employer, right? I was a civil servant for all the years that, so what was I supposed to do? Criticize my employer? Never did it. Under no government, and I've been through several governments. So it would be nice if you ask them exactly how does that solve our current problem. That's the issue, right? Not where a particular person was or why they didn't speak up before. How does that move the ball? How does that solve the problem? Okay?
Okay.
All right then.
Right, sure. We have yet another caller.
Sorry. Brother Blake, the grass that the lady spoke about up in the old school ground.
Mm-hmm.
The sugar factory had a tractor with a blade, an ear blade, and an out blade to cut any kind of bush and grass that need cutting. And when the sugar factory closed, that they disappear. And that is the reason why you see they had to bring in all kind of people to this side of the road to cut grass. That is one of the reasons. And if that tractor was around, just like they have 2 harvesters up Needmus, those harvesters, they have a blade that could go in and clean up the lawn in about 45 minutes. Clean it up. So I don't know the reason why they cannot be used, but the one that was made for cutting bushes and grass, that they're gone disappear. We just when the sugar factory closed. Now, Brother Blake, if the Lord Jesus did allow, the Bible those who wrote the Bible, did allow the thing that happened all like down in Sodom and Gomorrah down there. If the Bible never printed that, we could learn what happened down there. How would people know how to go forward when they're doing the foolishness that was done down in Sodom and Gomorrah? How would they know that it was wrong? It's because it is written. So we have to repeat it. Remember what happened down there. Don't do what happened down there. Otherwise, what happened down there is going to be worse this time. So we cannot let people, when you see wrong, you cannot hush. In the public domain, you cannot hush regardless to what work. The Bible has more rights than any government laws. So it doesn't matter how much government you're working for. Wrong is wrong. If you see any government minister doing wrong, you speak out. If they want to turn your head, they turn your head. Man shut one door, God open four more. So that ain't no excuse.
Okay.
You don't condone, and now you're coming criticizing this thing what been there for years and asking about where you was. Where you was? Thank you, Brother Blake.
Okay, I do believe that we need to focus on the current and look ahead. You see, we cannot change the past. No matter how much we hate it, no matter how much we dislike it, no matter how much it has hurt us, we cannot change the past. We have to learn from the past. Our present is passing. Our future is arriving. So we need to use the present to prepare for the future. And so, I want to suggest to Mr. Politics and others that one of the main reason why we're having so many problems around the world is this. We have been given a set of laws. We've been given a set of rules which we should abide by in order to govern ourselves. We have flatly refused to obey those rules. It's like a parent with a child telling the child, hey, these are the rules of the house, as a teacher establishing the rules of the classroom, and so on, and folks are refusing to obey. They must suffer the consequences. We, as a people, have refused to obey those rules and laws that set out by the Creator Himself, Almighty God, repeated by His Son Jesus Christ, outlined in the Bible, for example.
Hello?
Hold on. And we refuse to abide by those. That's why we are having these problems. That is my view. Let's take this caller.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, you only have a minute, by the way. You have just
well,
1
I was
minute.
calling to answer Mr. Politics' question, and in a nutshell, you said exactly what I was going to say.
Okay.
I was going to tell Mr. Politics, sin is the problem, and as long as sin exists, there will always be wars and rumors of wars. The Word of God says man's heart is desperately wicked.
Correct.
And you see, we don't, like you said, we don't want to abide by what the laws and the rules and guidelines that the Word of God set for us. We want to do our own thing, so there can always be wars. You have a good day.
Thank you. If, for example, we are told to love each other, but we refuse, we actually hate and hurt and harm each other, we must suffer the consequences. If we are told that we should work from each according to his ability and give to each according to his need, and we refuse to do that, we must suffer the consequences. If we are told to take care of Mother Earth and Father Nature, and we refuse to do that, we must suffer the consequences. If we are told to be honest and to treat each other compassionately, but in fact we treat each other with disdain and we are unfair and unjust and dishonest toward one another, we must suffer the consequences. If we are told that we need to eat this kind of food and we refuse and we eat what we are told not to eat, we must suffer the consequences. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my view why we have so many problems in the world today. We are going to continue this discussion tomorrow. Until such time, thank you for being a part of Frank and Candid today. And please, as much as possible, let us do the right thing.
Be one of 20 persons to win $1,000 US daily with the BIP app just in time for Christmas. To be eligible, simply download the BIP app, turn your